I sprained my ankle. I went to the emergency room and they said I sprained my ankle. I went to my family doctor yesterday and he read the x-rays and I broke the foot.
No, you my gosh. Just emergency room, it seems.
Yeah,
Urgent care, even less.
and my little toe.
Oh, no. There's not much they can do.
Oh, I broke that a long time. I broke that a couple.
Yeah, I've had toes. Okay, let's talk about
Okay.
something more glamorous. Okay, I've got the newsletter in my hand. So we can consider the minutes as they appeared in the newsletter. And see if anybody thinks we should accept them as they appear. Do we have a motion?
Me.
Pam? Pam made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mickey?
Mickey second.
Can. Oh, my sound's coming from the room. Can everybody hear me okay? At
Yes,
home?
yes, yes.
We can't hear you, John.
Who seconded, Cliff?
Yeah, quick click down, that's fine.
Cliff,
Where is? My output?
It's all the way up.
Well, that's the back, yeah, it should be, oh.
So Don,
I
we
got
can't
it.
hear Don, is that a
No,
question?
well, you guys, oh, here, that's the wrong thing.
You can hear me?
I can hear you fine, but let's see if everybody can hear you. Now, so.
Talk again, Don.
Hello, everybody.
Okay,
Oh, boy,
that's
that's
good.
Sorry about that.
Can everybody else hear me talking?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, because we had some technical problems last month that we think we've worked out. So there's a motion that has been seconded to accept the minutes. Do we, everybody in favor?
I am.
I,
All in favor?
me,
motion passed.
Motion passed, that's what I was, words are. Anyway, a nice newsletter, so at least go online and give it a look. Pam always puts good effort and time into it.
Thank you, Pam.
Welcome, Nancy.
We have a survey that I may wanna, who do we have? Cliff and Celeste who haven't filled it out?
Yeah.
Before you leave, Cliff and Celeste, let us ask you a few questions on the survey so your voice is heard. At the end of our presentation, if you don't mind, and then we can have several more surveys to consider on what we want to do this year.
who do you have in attendance? Sandy?
Nancy,
Oh,
Pam, and my husband Eddie.
Did you get that done? We got 3 in the room. We're counting Eddie for
Well,
sure.
there are two of you that will help.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
I think he knows better.
Sandy and Mickey also are here. Believe it or not.
Yes. We want our numbers counted. Okay, so today we're going to look at some subjects.
Oh, there's Denny.
I
Well, there's Dennis.
oh, good, Dennis.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
You know, I was at the Tech for Seniors meeting and they talked that they can run their recording through software that eliminates all the and it takes it right out.
I didn't quite get what software they were using.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, that might be useful. Because we're very informal. Today we're going to be talking about a couple things. One is artificial intelligence that I think is fascinating, the changes that are coming so fast. And the other thing, we have several other possible things to show. I think the one on 5G, because we keep hearing about getting your internet through connectivity with 5G. which is kind of the latest thing. And it is offered by what we think of as our cell phone companies such as Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and one more maybe.
Those are the three biggies.
Okay,
Well, it depends on, are we talking about in general or just specifically cable? 'Cause you-
5G is not cable.
but it offers your internet. It's
Yeah.
not the TV.
I
Yes,
get mine through what used to be called CenturyLink.
yeah, it changes.
DSL.
Link or break,
Yes.
something break.
Right, so there's more options nowadays, and the video that I was going to show kind of explains how we're at the point we're at and how it's working and so on. It's kind of interesting, I thought.
Sandy,
Yes,
if it'll help you, I've used it for about a year and a half now.
which one do you use?
I use T-Mobile.
T-Mobile one, and Mickey just got the
AT&T.
AT&T version,
Uh-huh.
and he's been happy so far. And you must be happy, Cliff, with,
Well, I was getting with the Windstream, besides a big bill.
besides, yeah.
Maybe if I was lucky, 15 to 20. And the on the download and the upload was, if I got 2 or 3, that was
What?
pushing it.
Wow.
Okay. Now I'm probably on the upload 20 to 30 or more. And usually I'm running right around 200
Okay,
on the download.
and then the price difference is what, half what you were paying or what?
I got a special deal.
But you had the Verizon
It's
phone.
costing me $15 a month.
Wow,
They're up to 50 and it's worth it. And the other thing is, let's see, with Windstream for their phone and that, I was about 120.
okay,
It's night and day. And for 30 years, Windstream, we're going to bring new lines out there. We're going to bring new lines out there. So when I moved over to my condo, I went with T-Mobile, and I hate to not, have it. It's I don't use it as much as I used to, but it's just far superior.
oh, that's good to hear, that's a
And then
good,
first-
to
the
know
first thing-
everybody to know that's an option, yeah.
Yeah, but the first thing you want to do is look and see if there's a 5G tower close to you,
Yeah, right, the tower
because
does
that's
matter.
everything in the world.
Yeah, and the video does show that, so I think that'll bring it home.
But I've been really,
Okay, well, that's good to have your personal endorsement on your experience. I know a lot of people or a lot of neighborhoods are starting to get an option for fiber wires. What's it called?
Yeah.
Fiber optic.
Right, right.
It
But
sounds so dated.
Yeah, but all
My
of a
only-
sudden,
They 15 years ago.
if you can get fiber optic, that's really a good thing, because that's.
it's usually more expensive though, isn't it? Unless it's an introductory price.
It depends on, I mean, again, everything depends on the depends, because if you can get the fiber optic for equivalent price of the 5G, fiber optic is going to be better because it doesn't have to worry about other people.
The towers
online,
and how many
how
people
far
are.
away from the tower you are and all that kind of stuff. It's more consistent, but
They have to string new lines for fiber though.
yes.
Where
it actually runs
T-Mobile
wire.
or any of
It
these
just has to-
others are
They have to add.
just
more
the tower
radios on the
availability.
tower. Right, so that's easier for them to do. So they're not as eager to run fiber as they were before. Now they've got the 5G technology.
So
So
why don't we,
5G does not include fiber optics. They're different things entirely.
It's just
Mhm.
wireless. It's like your cell phone. Instead of,
That means nothing to me. What is 5G? What is, I don't know, which is which. And
it's your cell phone. You don't have any wires on your cell
It's a
phone.
type of
you're
signal.
tapping into the cell
fiber
phone
optic
network?
is actually a wire.
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, who knew that? I didn't.
That's why it's
Well, let's-
fiber, it's actually a fiber, it has
Oh,
fiber.
it's a physical thing, so they
Yes.
probably have to come on your property, they probably have to
Yeah,
disrupt your.
And then you lose your landline like Don did.
They do, they killed a friend's landline and she had to write to the attorney general.
Well, Don is in the same situation in Oberlin. They came on his property to change wires and he still hasn't had a landline, so he may check with you on who to
So,
sue.
He consented to them coming on them, right?
Yeah, probably.
And on that's where they get you, because they say,
Oh,
oh, we'll take away,
when you
CA
signed that paper,
content,
you signed
whatever
away.
you want.
Yeah, all right.
Anything copper, it's ours,
Okay, Mickey, why don't you remind everybody how to get to the links that we'll be using today?
okay. Let's see here.
So he's going to go to our website and share our webpage.
Okay.
Because you can go back and watch what we do look at today anytime.
So on our webpage, LCCUG.com, we click on the presentation web links. And that takes you here, and these are in dated order. Speaking of the 5G stuff, that is down here, links to T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. Check and see if it's available in your area. But for today, we're going to go to the 514, how appropriate links.
And we're gonna look at
Which one you want?
how 5G technology has developed.
Ready?
That's what we're talking about, one of the options for internet now.
6G speeds hit 100 gigabits in a new test, 500 times faster.
Okay, so everybody can hear that fine?
Yep.
Good. All right.
Faster than the average 5G cell phone. Scientists in Japan have successfully transferred data at speeds of 100 gigabit per second using high frequency wavelength bands over a distance of 330 feet for the first time reported on April 24th, 2024. I'm Ron Brown with Tech for Senior, where we make videos to help seniors understand technology and to bring them up to date on 5G technology. So before we get into 5G technology in 2024, I'd like to go back and look at some history. Now, this is a slide of course, Don Johnson in Miami Vice. For all those seniors, you all know about this show. This is one of our favorite shows. If you're under the age of 50, you've probably never heard of this. Well, here you see Don Johnson, and what is most important is look at the cell phone he has. This is a 1G cell phone, and of course, Don being a smart guy, he had one of the first cell phones available. I actually had a 1G cell phone, and it was really terrible. It was like a party line. I don't know if you remember, but someone might be phoning and get in on your line, and you'd say, "Get off my line." It was an old analog system. It wasn't digital. Well, we moved quickly into 2G, which of course was digital communication. About this time, the US federal government realized that cell phone technology was going to be a big deal, really big. So they decided to break up Ma Bell instead of having a great monopoly for all the cell phone services in the United States. So as the breakup occurred, there was a tiny little company in Seattle called Verizon. And in the breakup, they were given a large chunk of Ma Bell, and the federal government said, "Go forth and multiply." And they did. And of course, that is history. So when Verizon got their marching orders to go forth and multiply, the board sat down and wanted to build a large network with the best equipment they could. And they looked at all available types of networks, and they chose CDMA as a standard. Well, of course, T-Mobile and AT&T had different ideas, and they chose another standard called GSM. Now, this is exactly the same thing that happened with, now again, you have to be a senior to understand this, was with VHS and Betamax. As you remember, those of us who really did our research went with Betamax because Betamax was a better technology. Well, what happened? Well, the world went with VHS and Betamax went away. Well, similar thing happened with the CDMA and GSM. The rest of the world went with the GSM standard. So in the United States, while we had these 3G networks, we had two standards. We have, of course, the CDMA system and we had the GSM. Well, that's why, of course, the Verizon phones wouldn't work on the T-Mobile service and T-Mobile wouldn't work on the Verizon service. And of course, they kept giving us free phones to keep on those services. So it was a bit of a crazy system for a while. And then a man by the name of Steve Jobs came along and created something that would change the world as we know it today. And that, of course, was the iPhone. And he had a concept that the phone would be connected to the internet and it would be quite an amazing device. And the iPhone, of course, was created and became enormously successful. Well, the 3G networks just weren't going to cut it as far as providing high-speed internet for those phones. So, of course, we developed yet a 4G standard, which moved ahead. And fortunately, 4G, hey, all the phones worked on this. We got rid of the old double standard, and we had one now that all phones would work on the 4G network. And there we were for a number of years until, of course, this 5G came. And today we're going to talk about what is this 5G thing, why is it important, and what is this, where are we going with this in 2024? All right, let's talk a little bit about the history of 5G networks. Then we'll talk about how they work and the advantages of 5G. Now, we have to go back to the year 2018, and this is when we first saw 5G networks appear in Canada, the United States, and around the world. And this was led by a company who is by far the leader in this technology called Huawei. And they were by far way ahead of everybody else in the development of this, which of course was a Chinese company. And it meant that China was very well developed in their 5G network long before Canada, the United States, Britain, so on and so forth, had their networks up and running. So in 2018, we started to see very early signs that we were going to be switching from 4G to 5G, and some of the cellular companies started to implement these changes. Now, the problem arose with the Five Eyes countries. This would be, of course, Great Britain, Canada, the United States, New Zealand, and Australia. The concern was, of course, if they were going to put your national network and spent hundreds of billions of dollars building this, and it was all controlled by Huawei, would this pose a security risk? And the answer to that, of course, was yes. So the first thing that happened in 2018 was Australia and New Zealand banned Huawei systems from being implemented. In 2019, the United States then banned Huawei, followed by Great Britain and Canada. This was very significant because that meant that companies that had actually started to implement in 2018 some of these very expensive networks had to actually, in the United States and Canada, take them out. So this became very costly. And the other big technical problem was Huawei was so advanced from all the other companies making this type of equipment, it would take a number of years for the other companies to catch up. So that led to a big delay in the implementation of 5G networks in the Five Eyes countries. So today we see the well-developed 5G networks in China, Southeast Asia, and India. These are the powerhouses of manufacturing and new developments. And they, of course, all use Huawei equipment. So yes, it is taking the Five Eyes countries a little while to catch up and to wait for companies like Nokia and other 5G manufacturers to develop the technology that Huawei has. And you'll see how this becomes apparent when we go over how 5G works. So let me talk a little bit about the advantages and why we need 5G. All right, let's focus on 5G. Now, we all know that, of course, 5G is faster than 4G. But how much faster is it? Well, let's look at this diagram here, and you'll see if we took a 2-hour movie called Guardians of the Galaxy and we downloaded that on a 3G network, it would take 26 hours. If we did that on a 4G network, it would take 6 minutes. And if we did it on a 5G network, it would take 3.6 seconds. Boy, I wonder, that's going at 10 gigabits per second download. I wonder how that 6G network we discussed earlier at 100 gigabits per second, I bet you it'd be a fraction of a second. So you're probably wondering, why do we need such speed? I mean, we can't download our email any faster, right? So why is speed important? And speed is important because of low latency. In this diagram, you'll see pictures of autonomous driving cars. And you'll see, of course, they have a perimeter sensor around the outside so that they can stay in the lane and stay safe. Well, the ability to control those cars is so important that you have a rapid 5G network with low latency. You can't sort of be thinking about stepping on the brakes before it actually happens. Or let's look at healthcare. As doctors do remote surgery, this is a neurosurgeon doing neurosurgery with haptic technology. Again, requiring a very, very low latency before he makes that critical scalpel cut. And then, of course, there's manufacturing. This is the big one. Manufacturing really depends on low latency. As they tool up their factories and they run the automated processes, a low latency speed is extremely important. But let's look at this article. It was out this morning in the newspaper. This is a Washington College football team who relies on 5G technology, the Bisons. They come from a university where a lot of the students are hearing impaired, and they use technology in their helmets to get the clues from the coach. Yes, 5G is making them very successful. So not only does it have implications on what we discussed before, but big implications for sports as well. So whether it's in the automobile industry, healthcare, manufacturing, or sports, 5G technology gives everyone a competitive edge. And in times where the United States and Canada are hoping to bring back some of their manufacturing capability, which we have seen move off to China, Southeast Asia, and India, who all have well-developed 5G systems and are moving on to 6G, it is so important that we develop these 5G systems to stay competitive. All right, let's talk a little bit about what 5G is. Now, I think that it's important that you understand that this is an evolving technology that is going to take maybe the next 10 years to give you speeds of up to 20 gigabit download. Now, you've already seen that 6G technology is available in Japan. They're just working on their 6G technology, which gives you download speeds of 100 gigabits per second. So when we look at this 5G diagram here, you'll see that there's 3 layers of the cake. And today we're going to focus on the top layer, which is the very fast millimeter wave. What is the millimeter wave? I'm going to explain that. But what you need to understand is that the parts of this cake change depending on where you are and where you live in the United States and Canada. It's very dynamic and is always related to the new technology and new antennas that are being developed by the various companies that are providing the services for this 5G network. All right, let's look at the diagram on the bottom right here, and you'll see that the 4G network uses around 6 gigahertz. This is a great frequency. It allows good penetration to buildings and allows great reception, which we have with our 4G network. Why would anybody want to go into the higher spectrum, 24 gigahertz and above, into what we call the millimeter wave? These are terrible wavelengths because, of course, they are very fast, but they don't go very far and they don't penetrate buildings. And the rain and the fog all affects them. But the higher frequency means that there's lots of these around and we can create these lots of them and they go very fast. So in the past, we've never wanted to use these higher frequencies for communication because of the unreliability nature of them. But I'm going to show you how that all changed, and this is where we get the 5G technology from. Because this is really an issue of we've got to make what we have better. We can't create any more radio frequencies. We have to take the ones we have and make better use of them. So let's see how we can do this. Now, this technology is constantly changing, but we're going to talk first about millimeter waves, which we have. We're going to talk about small cell antennas. Then we're going to go to the massive MIMO, multiple in, multiple out antennas. What are beam-forming antennas? And we're going to talk about full duplex. So let's have a look at that. All right, let's look at what we're going to call small cell antennas with 5G network. Now, these are typically antennas that you will see in residential areas. Since I've told you that these don't go very far and can't penetrate through buildings, you're going to need a lot of these aerials in residential areas. Now let's look at this diagram here, and this is to do with home internet services, which you see being released now by the big three. This is where you'll have a tower and you'll have an antenna on your own home. Now this will have to be line of sight, and it can't actually go very far. So you'll have to have lots of these towers, but the signal will go from the tower to the antenna on your house. Then there'll be a cable that will take you to a modem in your house, and then of course it will connect to a router and Wi-Fi and however you want to distribute it. But that's how you're going to get this to your house from the tower. Now as this technology moves into residential areas, you'll need to have a lot of these towers, and here's some examples of towers on lighting standards in different locations. And you'll see the light on the top, and you'll see the antennas on the lighting standards. Now you'll probably need these aerials every second or third light in the area that you live. So yes, there's going to be a lot of towers to have this 5G technology to be useful in your neighborhood. Now, obviously, if we're in a downtown situation where there's a lot of tall buildings, the technology needs to change. And that's where we have what we call massive MIMO. And this means multiple in, multiple out. In other words, we can create large numbers of these high frequency 5G signals. And in this diagram, you can see the different aerials that would be sending out a lot of these 5G millimeter wave signals. Now the problem is we're sending out so many because we have to cover all the sides of the building. So we're just going to flood the area with a lot of these signals. Problem is these signals are going to collide and they're going to go boom, boom, and it's going to reduce the speed because of the massive collisions. So we then have a second type of aerial called a beamforming aerial. And this really is like a control tower at an airport. It's going to direct these signals so that it becomes a logical way in which we can receive them and keep the speed up. So we're going to have, in conjunction with MIMO aerials, we'll have beamforming aerials, and you can see that in this diagram. And if you are downtown Phoenix and you're looking up, you'll see these different types of aerials on a lot of buildings in order to get that type of service. Now, the last technology is duplex technology. Now, if you have the old walkie-talkies we used to have as kids, you can remember if I was broadcasting when you were broadcasting and we pushed the transmission button at the same time, it would go squeak, squawk, squawk, and it wouldn't work because we both know that we have to say over, and then you can broadcast, then I can broadcast. So you can't actually run a signal in different directions on the same frequency. One person can broadcast or the other person can broadcast. Now you're going to say, well, Ron, how do cell phones work? That isn't a problem. We don't have to say over on cell phones. That's because we have different channels on cell phones. In fact, when we're talking on a cell phone, there's a receiving channel and a sending channel. So we're using different frequencies. So we have two frequencies every time we're talking on a cell phone. Well, that of course uses up a lot of the frequencies available. Wouldn't it be nice if we could actually have a sending and receiving frequency on the same track? Well, in this diagram, you'll see, of course, there's, as the old system, two trains going on the same track, on different tracks, and that's how we make it work. With what the engineers have figured out with duplex is that we can now send and receive on the same frequency, which is really quite incredible. And this will allow, again, double the number of transmissions that we can make and make this thing even faster. So these are the technologies that we have today to make this 5G system work. But as I speak, I'm sure there's more and more of these types of technology being developed, which will all be added to make these systems better so that we will be able to get up to about 20 gigabit download. So in summary, the 5G networks in Canada and the United States are composed of this type of graph you'll see here. This cake is a pictorial view of the different frequencies used to make up this network. Now, this will vary dynamically where you live, and I'll explain that in just a minute, but you'll see the broad 4G base, then we have the mid-range, and of course, the very high millimeter waves, which is a small group of geographical locations. So this will change. Now, why is this important? If you look at Arizona, Arizona is, of course, massive development going there with chip manufacturing and the new, of course, CHIP Act that has just been passed in the United States. So there's a lot of money pouring in. So you would think that they would have a very advanced 5G network to drive this system. So I sent our music director, Ray Baxter, out to do some testing for me. Now it's very interesting. Ray lives in a very rural area in Pine, Arizona. He recently changed his cellular service to T-Mobile. And the reason he did that is because of this graph here. You'll see that he has his home connection is now just under 500 megabytes right to the cell tower. Now, Ray has already asked T-Mobile if they have a home internet service, and they don't, but it's coming. So Ray is checking regularly to see when the home internet service is going to be available. Now, when Ray was last in Phoenix about 3 weeks ago, he was at a Denny's downtown, and his T-Mobile connection on his Samsung flip phone was 1 gigabit down, as you see in this diagram. So yes, Arizona has put in place a very advanced 5G network so that it would support, of course, these new chip manufacturing plants. So in summary, I have a few final comments. The first comment is that there are roughly 1 million cell towers in the United States. Now, the average cost of upgrading a 4G tower to a 5G tower is about $1 million. So I want all you people who are good at math to multiply 1 million times 1 million and tell me how much money that is. And when you do that, you'll find out it is a lot of money. So where's the money going to come to build these advanced 5G networks? Well, the answer is you. You're going to be paying for it. But this is to your advantage right now. And I keep talking about this because the big three are desperate to get you to convert over to their 5G system. And the reason for that is they need some cash to pay for the ongoing development of these advanced 5G systems. And they're going to offer you great deals to get you to switch over to their 5G home internet. They're going to bundle this with your home phone if you have one, your cell phones, and also your internet. And I don't know what to raise T-Mobile price will be out, but Verizon is often offering this for around $50 a month. There are some great deals, and this is where the big savings is going to be in your telecommunication package. You should look for this because there are big savings in this area. Again, it may not be immediately available in your area, but this is rapidly changing, so you need to keep checking back and looking and reevaluating your system because there's some big money that you can save. All right, it's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video on 5G technology. Till we see you again, have a great day and stay.
Closing comments, you have?
Anybody have any thoughts on that? It's kind of amazing.
Sandy,
Yeah,
he pointed out one thing, the person in Arizona got, what, a gigabyte on his cell phone?
yeah,
Yes.
that was at a restaurant he was at in Phoenix.
Okay, what he didn't tell you, and it's not all bad, is the internet that you get through T-Mobile, and I think it's everybody else too. The internet for like home usage, not on your cell phone, is secondary. Okay, so what he got on his cell phone was probably much faster than what you could get on the internet
In a home.
in a home, because that's secondary. But like
Okay.
I say, the numbers that I quoted here are from the internet that I've used here when I've checked it myself over the internet and not over the phone. The cell phones get priority on it. And like I say, that's not bad because even at the $50 price for what you're paying and that, you're getting a heck of a product.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed, he said that Arizona was building up their bandwidth availability partly because they've got all these
He said the chip.
Cell makers.
chip manufacturers
Yeah,
coming into
going down by
Arizona,
Columbus.
and we have some coming in Ohio, down by Columbus, I believe.
Yeah, Columbus is.
So we should be seeing the benefits of some of that development,
Yeah,
maybe up this way as well. No,
but like I said, you know,
or at least in Columbus.
the speeds that I, quoted you earlier, that's from the internet, but it is secondary.
Okay, well, that's a good distinction to make. Yeah. That there's gonna be a difference in this.
And, my feeling is, hey, I got a Chevy Malibu. If I can go down 70 miles an hour, that's pretty good. I don't need something that's gonna go 400 or 500 miles an hour because I don't know where I'm gonna drive.
You don't even need,
Yeah, it does it for me.
just crash.
Plus cheaper.
And the price, yeah, because like if you leave a Spectrum or somebody, they'll say, well, if you just want internet, it's gonna cost, upwards of $100.
Yeah.
Because they can get it, they think, so.
Mhm.
Sandy, if you
Yes.
have a 4G, 5G capable phone, it changes to 5G if you're in that area,
Yeah,
that my phone does.
usually, yeah,
Okay, but if you just have a 5G phone and you're in rural areas, will you get reception just with the 5G phone?
I don't
He
know
didn't
if there's such a
mention
thing
that. I
as
thought
a 5G
I-
only phone.
I think they would automatically go to 4G if
Right.
it wasn't available.
Typically, the 5G phones also do 4G.
okay, because so as all 5G does is jumpstart the 4G
No.
for a longer wave.
5G is a whole separate spectrum of bandwidth. But as you say, it's not available everywhere. And if it's not available, it's going to automatically down speed to 4G.
Okay.
Make sense?
Sandy,
Yeah.
one other thing, I've seen a lot of it on YouTube. There's some really good people there about how to set these things up and that. You can buy a separate antenna that will pull in both 5G and 4G. And so that way you can extend the 5G with the combination of the 4G. And it makes pretty big difference there too.
But isn't that only if your router will accept the external antenna?
Yeah, but there's even some people now, like T-Mobile's got one out now that you can plug it right in. But there's a couple guys on the internet that have shown ways that you can add your own if you're good at soldering. And where they were, you know, like with 5 and 6 miles away from a tower.
Kind of geeky.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name, but you probably think of this, I'm probably thinking of the same guy you are, do you remember his name?
Up in Michigan?
I thought this guy was in Arizona as well, oh well.
No, there's a guy up in Michigan. He uses his name on it, but he's really, really good at it. And yeah, he must be an electrical engineer or something with that. And there's also another guy out by Oakland, California that does computers and all that stuff.
Well, if any of our members want to try the,
I'm not about to open up my router because it belongs
Nikki's
to
not
AT&T.
paying for it.
and
I'll just get out.
If I ever
Yeah.
leave them, it's gonna go
Get a
back to
ladder.
them, so.
we'll send them to Cliff if they're coming along. Okay, let's,
Where's Radio Shack when you need them?
yeah, really, I missed them. Okay, Nikki's gonna go back to our list of links and we're gonna look at another one. Oh, we have time. Oh, there it is. The Omni, the last one. This is a influencer, a tech guy's take on a presentation that was on the internet yesterday.
Which is
Or,
this one.
yeah. So if you want to see the full demo, that's not the right word, that he's referring to, it's right there called Introducing ChatGPT 4.0. But I thought it was useful to look at the last one on the list called OpenAI Stuns with Omni Launch, because he comments on the full presentation as he goes through it, and I thought he did a nice summary. So we're gonna look at this
Do my share.
fellow is what, it was Matthew or Michael Berman or something was the presenter's name.
Oh, I was showing, so the list, we weren't showing our home audience. The full video is gonna be this one here, but we're gonna look at this one, which is that video being commented on by the guy, so.
All right, so OpenAI made their big Monday announcement just a few minutes ago. I watched it live, and now let me tell you about it. Essentially, they released Her. You remember that movie, Her, with Joaquin Phoenix?
Well, you seem like a person, but you're just.
Hold on a minute, here I got. Full screen is not doing well. Full screen here. There we go, all right, sorry. Move this out of the way.
So this is a little
Just a voice
short
in a
thing from the
computer.
movie
I can
Her.
understand how the limited perspective of an unartificial mind would perceive it that way.
It was a movie about artificial intelligence that was so smart and so good and really personal. And the main character, without giving too much away, built a really personal relationship with AI. And that's really what it felt like today. And so let's go over all the announcements together. Let's watch it together and I'm going to comment on it. So let's get into it.
Today I'm going to talk about 3 things. That's it. We will start with why it's so important to us to have a product that we can make freely available and broadly available to everyone.
All right, so you can already see what they're going to be talking about here. They're going to be talking about the mission. I'm going to skip over that. It is basically making artificial general intelligence and its value broadly applicable. Now, whether you agree with their approach or not, that is their mission. And next, they launched a desktop app and a web UI update. So let's skip over to that. But the main part of the presentation is GPT 4.0. And that's the letter O, not the number O. And I'm going to tell you all about that as we watch this video together. All right, so let's take a look at all the changes that the UI has gone through, and let's look at the desktop app.
And today we're also bringing the desktop app to ChatGPT because we want you to be able to use it wherever you are. As you can see, it's easy, it's simple, it integrates very, very easily in your workflow. Along with it, we've also refreshed the UI. We know that these models get more and more complex, but we want the experience of interaction to actually become natural.
So they said they refreshed the UI, but to be honest, it looks exactly the same to me. And I'm usually pretty good about noticing small changes. I don't really even see what's different about it just looking at it.
Easy, and for you not to focus on the UI at all, but just focus on the collaboration with ChatGPT. And now the big news. Today, we are releasing our newest flagship model. This is GPT-4o.
All right, so she announces that they are announcing GPT-4o, their new flagship model. So it's not GPT-5. We did not get GPT-5 today. There were a lot of rumors that that was going to happen today, but they still are cooking. And so we have GPT-4o, which is an iteration on GPT-4. And it's really unique in some ways, but what they've done with it, and they described it as magical, it's pretty darn cool and really gets us to a big step forward towards that vision of that future of her.
GPT-4o provides GPT-4 level intelligence, but it is much faster and it improves on its capabilities across text, vision, and audio. For the past couple of years, we've been very focused on improving the intelligence of these models.
So I'm going to pause it there for a second. So the O in GPT-4o is Omni model, and that is what they're calling it now. It's basically text, vision, and voice all in one, but I'll let Mira talk about it.
This is the first time that we are really making a huge step forward when it comes to the ease of use. And this is incredibly important because we're looking at the future of interaction between ourselves and the machines. And we think that GPT-4o is really shifting that paradigm into the future of collaboration, where this interaction becomes much more natural and far, far easier.
Yeah, so I'm really glad they're actually making this push, and I suspect there's going to be a lot of open source projects in the next few weeks coming out that do exactly this. But the gist is, previously, interacting with models was almost entirely text-based, which is fine, but it was very much, I type out a prompt and then I wait, I get the response back. And then I type out another one, I wait and get the response back. Sometimes you could even do voice transcription and then you submit it and then you wait and get the response back. And it felt very turn-based and very unnatural, to be honest. And that was the big thing that they were pushing for, and the big thing that they announced today was making it feel much more natural. And I really like this. And this is on the heels of the rumored OpenAI Apple deal closing, I think just yesterday, where Siri is now going to be powered, at least in part, by ChatGPT. And now that is making a lot more sense because of all of the things that they're about to show us.
Making this happen is actually quite complex because when we interact with one another, there's a lot of stuff that we take for granted. You know, the ease of our dialogue when we interrupt one another, the background noises, the multiple voices in a conversation, or, you know, understanding the tone of voice. All of these things are actually quite complex for these models. And until now, with voice mode, we had 3 models that come together to deliver this experience. We have transcription, intelligence, and then text-to-speech. All comes together in orchestration to deliver voice mode.
So that's really interesting. She basically said that to deliver this experience previously, they had 3 separate models. Text-to-speech, so being able to actually have the voice come out of ChatGPT, the intelligence model, which is kind of just the core model, and voice transcription, which took your voice and transcribed it into text to the model.
This also brings a lot of latency to the experience, and it really breaks that immersion in the collaboration with ChatGPT. But now, with GPT-4o, this all happens natively. GPT-4o reasons across voice, text, and vision. And with these incredible efficiencies, it also allows us to bring the GPT-4 class intelligence to our free users. This is something that...
All right, so this is big news. GPT-4 intelligence, this model, to the free users. Sam Altman was just on the All In podcast where he talked about wanting to bring all of the capabilities of GPT-4 to their free users. And literally just a week ago, he was saying they were figuring it out or they couldn't figure it out, but it looks like he actually had it figured out and he just didn't want to announce it yet, which is understandable. So I'm getting the sense that if Sam Altman says something like, hey, we're working on this, we haven't figured it out yet, it's actually probably imminent. All right, so here are some important stats. GPT-4o is 2 times faster, and within the API, it's 50% cheaper, 5 times higher rate limits compared to GPT-4 Turbo. And the 5 times higher rate limits is, I believe, only for paid users, because she mentions, although I'm not going to play it, she mentions that with paid users, you get 5 times more capacity than free users. So there's still a big benefit to being a paid user. And of course, that assumes you believe in their approach to closed source models. All right. Here's where it gets really interesting. They are going to show off some demos, and it's subtle, but incredibly impressive and a big leap in just the way you interact with AI. It does feel so much more natural. It does feel like her. And let's watch it together. It's pretty incredible. And by the way, these are 2 of the leading engineers who worked on this project.
Hi, I'm Barrett.
Hey, I'm Mark. So one of the key capabilities we're really excited to share with you today is real-time conversational speech. Let's just get a demo fired up. So I'm taking out a phone. If you are wondering about this wire, it's so we have consistent internet. And if you see, there's this little icon on the bottom right of the ChatGPT app, and this will open up GPT-4o's audio capabilities. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm Mark. How are you?
Oh, Mark. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Hey, so I'm on stage right now. I'm doing a live demo, and frankly, I'm feeling a little bit nervous.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. Immediately when you hear ChatGPT respond, it is in near real time, and you can tell that she has a lot of emotion in her voice. It is not simply just reading text as you're used to with typical TTS models. There's actually a lot of personality in the voice already, and you're going to see a lot more of that as we go through the rest of these demos. And quickly before we do that, OpenAI released this blog post just a few days ago introducing the model spec, where they detail how they believe AI should interact with humans. And it's actually pretty good. A lot of it I agree with, and I'm going to make a separate video all about this blog post because I think it's really telling as to what we can expect from the future of AI, not just from OpenAI, but I think this is going to be a template for many AI companies to use. All right, let's continue. So I believe his name is Mike here, is saying that he's doing a presentation and he's very nervous.
Can you help me calm my nerves a little bit?
Oh, you're doing a live demo right now? That's awesome. Just take a deep breath. And remember, you're the expert here.
I like that suggestion. Let me try a couple deep breaths. Can you give me feedback on my breaths? Okay, here.
All right, I want you to notice something. That was really subtle what just happened, but I want you to take a look. He interrupted ChatGPT. Currently, it's not really possible to continue a conversation and interrupt like that. Usually you have to stop it and then restate it, but he simply just interrupted and she stopped talking. And I'm calling it a she, and that's weird. I'm not sure what to do with this yet. I'll figure that part out. But let me show you that again, just in case you missed it.
And remember, you're the expert here.
I like that suggestion. Let me try a couple deep breaths. Can you give me feedback on my breaths? Okay, here I go.
Whoa, slow a bit there. Mark, you're not a vacuum cleaner. Breathe in for a count of 4.
Okay.
All right, so a couple things. One, a lot of personality in the voice of ChatGPT. And I bet you're going to be able to dial in that personality to exactly how you want it to behave with you. And it's reminded of exactly Her, the movie Her. By the way, if you haven't seen that movie, it is a fantastic movie and almost a roadmap into what the future of AI will look like. And then one other thing I want to point out is there seems to be some audio issue with the output, and you're going to hear a couple parts where it gets glitchy or a little bit laggy sounding or just missing audio, and they're not reacting at all to it, which makes me think that it's only the output of what we're hearing on the live stream.
Let me try again. So I'm going to breathe in deeply and then breathe out.
For 4, and then exhale slowly.
Okay, I'll try again. Breathing in and breathe out.
That's it. How do you feel?
I feel a lot better. Thank you so much.
So Mark, you've been working on these capabilities for a while now. Can you tell us a bit how it's different from voice mode?
Right. So if you've used our voice mode experience before, you'll notice a couple key differences. First, you can now interrupt the model. You don't have to wait for it to finish your turn before you can start speaking, and you can just butt in whenever you want.
So that's huge. That alone makes it feel so much more natural. When you're in conversation, you don't always wait for the other person to finish their thought or their sentence, patiently, and then give it a few seconds and then respond. You kind of jump in right at the tail end sometimes. Sometimes you interrupt altogether. And so now it does feel so much more natural to have this assistant, this AI assistant, where you can just butt in and you can ask it questions or you can interrupt and say, no, that's not what I meant. So that's a really cool feature. And I'll also mention the entire demo seems to be much more focused on voice mode. And so I think they're going really heavy into voice mode because text is great, but voice is the most natural way to interact with other humans and now artificial intelligence. And that also reminds me again of their deal with Siri. Imagine this as Siri, except with the Siri example, imagine if Siri can control your phone and have access to everything, your email, your calendar, all the files that you've ever downloaded. That's a really compelling version of Siri, something that obviously we haven't seen to date. Now, I'm still very disappointed that Apple is not either building their own model or using an open source model, but more on that in another video.
Model is real-time responsiveness. So that means that you don't have this awkward 2 to 3 second lag before you wait for the model to give a response. And finally, the model picks up on emotion, right? When I was breathing super hard there, it could tell and it knew, hey, you might want to calm down a little bit. You're kind of running a little bit too fast.
So there was a demo of a company a few weeks ago. I'm actually forgetting the name. If I remember it, I'll drop it in the description below. But basically, it was exactly this. It was AI that could read your emotion from your voice and reply back with emotion in its voice. And so OpenAI now has that, which is really cool. I hope that other company goes open source or at least releases their technology so that open source providers can use this. And again, the way that open source has been working with AI over the last year, I wouldn't be surprised if we have this kind of functionality, this kind of emotional intelligence in our artificial intelligence open source models within the next few weeks. So here's hoping to that. Let's get that, Mark Zuckerberg, please.
It really has that capability across the board to perceive your emotion. Not only that, though, the model is able to generate voice in a variety of different emotive styles. And it really has a wide dynamic range. So I'm going to fire up another demo for that. Hey, ChatGPT, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Pretty good.
What's up?
So my friend Barrett here, he's been having trouble sleeping lately. And I want you to tell him a bedtime story about robots and love.
Oh, a bedtime story about robots and love? I got you covered. Gather round, Barrett. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot, always exploring.
Started this story, but I want a little bit more emotion in your voice, a little bit more drama.
Okay, so he interrupted and asked ChatGPT to change its emotion in its voice. And again, I think the interrupting feature seems small, but I think it's going to be really powerful in making the interactions feel so much more natural.
Got it. Let's add some drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte.
No, ChatGPT. I really want maximal emotion, like maximal expressiveness, much more than you were doing before.
Understood. Let's amplify the drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte
Actually, can
was
you do this in a robotic voice now?
initiating dramatic robotic voice. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot.
So imagine this. I mean, I know I keep mentioning her, but this is exactly that. You are essentially saying to this AI, here's how I want you to behave. Here's the emotion in your voice that I want. Here's how I want you to tell me things. And I think that's going to be awesome. I think this is a huge leap in interactivity with artificial intelligence that we're seeing here. And again, I'm very hopeful that open source models are going to start incorporating this very soon. And I think that's the pattern that we're going to see going forward, where these frontier models, these frontier companies release something everybody sees what's possible, and then open source releases it a few months later.
Bot, always exploring new
So I'm seeing,
circuits.
Barrett here, calm down a little bit. Can you end the story, but do it in a singing voice?
And so Byte found another robot friend, and they lived circuitly ever after.
Thank you so much.
I definitely feel a lot more relaxed.
You've just seen the voice capabilities, but we also want to show you the vision capabilities as the model can also see the whole world around us.
All right, they're about to show us some vision capabilities, which we've seen this stuff already, but I think combined with the interactivity with ChatGPT, now I'm describing as her, it's quite impressive. Although really the most impressive parts we've already seen in the last demo, but let's watch this.
Hello there. How's it going?
It's going really well. Today, I'd really like your help solving a math problem.
I'm all ears. What math problem can I help you tackle today?
So I'm going to write down a linear equation on a sheet of paper and I'll show you. And then I'd love your help working me through it. But importantly, don't tell me the solution, just help give me hints along the way.
Got it. Oh. Okay, I see it.
No, I didn't show you yet. Just give me help along the way. 1 second.
Whoops, I got too excited.
That alone was really cool. So there was an obvious mistake. The phone was flat on the table and ChatGPT says, oh, I see it, but she can't see it because the camera wasn't pointed at anything. And he corrected it. He said, oh, actually, I haven't shown it to you yet. Let me write it out and then I'll show it to you. And she says, oh, I got too excited. The personality there is just very impressive to me. And now we're going to see vision mode.
So, ChatGPT, what equation did I write down there?
Ah, I see it now. You wrote down 3x plus 1 equals 4.
Yep, exactly. So what's the first step I should take to try to...
So again, he interrupted her. And it's kind of weird and inspiring and exciting to hear AI go, it's such a human thing to do. And now AI will be doing that. And I think that is the big breakthrough that OpenAI had here. It was making AI sound more human and interact in a more human way.
The first step is to get all the terms with x on one side and the constants on the other side. So what do you think we should do with that plus 1?
Okay, I'm going to try to subtract 1 from both sides and then I'll see what I get.
All right, so I'm going to skip over this a little bit. He basically goes back and forth with ChatGPT, and without ChatGPT actually telling him exactly what to do, she kind of guides him along the way. It's pretty cool. And if you haven't seen the full video, I did a super cut of it, which I included this demo in. All right, now we're about to see something which I think is really cool. It kind of shows off more of what we've seen, but the reaction from ChatGPT is just super impressive. Let's watch.
Anything else you'd like to tackle today?
So ChatGPT, I really love that you taught the value of math to my friend Mark. And I wrote one last thing I'd love if you could take a look at.
Of course. I'd love to see what you wrote. Show it to me whenever you're ready.
Okay, so this is what I wrote down. What do you see?
I see. I love ChatGPT. That's so sweet of you.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate all the help.
All right. So again, that noise is just so human, but not AI. So they programmed it to really behave as though it is a human. And I think that is the big picture here. They have injected a tremendous amount of emotion and emotional intelligence into ChatGPT, and that's what we're seeing. So they basically took all of the input methods, combined them into one, and made it real time. So it's much, much faster, and that is a key unlock to making it feel much more human and much more of a natural interaction with AI. All right, in this next demo, what we're going to see is the desktop version of ChatGPT reading from the screen and being able to tell you different things about what it's seeing. And we've seen a lot of this before. Basically, they're going to copy the text from this code and ChatGPT is going to describe what it does. So let's watch.
Okay. And to give a bit of background on what's going on, so here we have a computer, and on the screen we have some code, and then the ChatGPT voice app is on the right. So ChatGPT will be able to hear me, but it can't see anything on the screen. So I'm going to highlight the code, Command C it, and then that will send it to ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT.
Hey there. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going really well. I was wondering if you could help me with a coding problem today.
Of course. I'd love to help you out. What's the coding problem you're dealing with?
Okay, I'm going to share with you some code. 1 second.
Sure thing. Take your time.
It probably
Copies the code, pasted it in, or it automatically got it from the copy or from the clipboard, I should say. And then now she's reading back or just explaining what that code does.
Yeah, just-
Okay, I'm going to skip ahead a bit. Okay, so they generated a graph from that code, and now they're going to ask ChatGPT questions about it. This is all stuff we've seen before through Code Interpreter, and it's still impressive to see, but it's the same stuff except with the addition of being able to actually have a natural conversation around it. All right, in this next example, somebody asked, hey, does it do live translation really well? And so what they're going to show off is translation between Mira Murati, the CTO on the left, speaking Italian, and Mike on the right, speaking English, and it translating it back and forth. But what I think is really cool is when he asked ChatGPT to do it, she responds in a kind of quirky, cool way. So let's take a look.
I have a friend here who only speaks Italian, and I only speak English. And every time you hear English, I want you to translate it to Italian. And if you hear Italian, I want you to translate it back to English. Is that good?
Perfetto.
Okay, so I think it's cool that ChatGPT says perfecto. And I don't know, it's a cool quirk. It kind of shows off a personality. And I don't know, I think this is really the future of what a personal AI assistant is going to look like. So let me just briefly show you the translation back and forth.
Mark, io mi chiedo se le balene potessero parlare, cosa ci direbbero?
Mike, she wonders if whales could talk, what would they tell us?
They might ask, how do we solve linear equations?
Potrebbero chiederci come risolviamo le equazioni lineari.
Sicuramente sì.
This is somebody else.
Certainly, yes.
All right, so cool little back and forth with translation. Now, another viewer is asking, can ChatGPT know what your emotions are just by looking at your face? So let's take a look. And something interesting happens during this part of the demo where you'll see, and I'll explain it after.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to show you a selfie of what I look like, and then I'd like you to try to see what emotions I'm feeling based on how I'm looking.
Sounds like a fun challenge. Go ahead and show me that selfie, and I'll put my emotional detective hat on.
Okay, so here's me. So what kind of emotions do you think I'm feeling?
It seems like I'm looking at a picture of a wooden surface.
Oh, you know what? That was the thing I sent you before. Don't worry, I'm not actually a table. Okay, so take another look.
That makes more sense. There we go. It looks like you're feeling pretty happy and cheerful.
All right, so what just happened there? So right when this person took out the phone and started recording, the first thing is it was showing the back of the camera, which means it was looking down at the table. So for a half second, it was showing the table, and I'll show you that. So right here, you can see right when they turned on vision mode, it showed the table before he flipped the camera around, and it was showing his face right there. So immediately, the first thing ChatGPT saw was the table, and she says, I think I'm looking at a table. And then he says, oh, no, wait, I'm not a table. Forget that. Now look. And then she says, oh, yeah, okay, that makes more sense. And again, that whole very natural interaction is just so impressive to me. All right, and the last thing I'm going to show you is Mira Murati's hint as to what's coming next. So one thing is, where's Sam Altman? He is not in this presentation whatsoever. And I think that's telling. Maybe it's not the biggest thing they have cooking right now, and Sam is waiting for that to get out on stage. But nonetheless, Mira Murati gives a hint as to what's coming next with the quote-unquote next big thing. Let's watch.
So soon we'll be updating you on our progress towards the next big thing. And before we wrap up, I just want to thank the incredible OpenAI team.
All right, so that was it. I thought this was really cool. It wasn't some huge splashy announcement where they announced a brand new model or some kind of new tech, but it was very subtle, but I think very important nonetheless. And the ability for more people to use AI in a very natural way is extremely important. Now, question and answering is important, but the real value of AI, I've been really thinking about this a lot lately. The real value is going to be when your personal assistant can actually accomplish tasks on your behalf. Just being able to ask questions and get answers about things is great, but it's not that perfect use case. And this is especially true since I've been testing the Meta AI sunglasses. It turns out I don't really have a lot of questions throughout the day that I need answered, maybe a handful. But what I do want is the ability to give my agents, my personal assistants, tasks that they go out and accomplish for me while I'm doing something else. That is my dream scenario. That is my perfect use case. And I think we're pretty close to having that happen, but we'll see. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe.
So that was the presentation that you can go back and watch yourself if you like, but I thought his interpretation was added interest to it. And both the link to what we just watched is there on our list, as is the full program above it. So does anyone think that's going to be cool or useful?
I thought it was interesting. Thought it was really neat.
You can figure out how to use it, yeah. I think it would.
I think it's going to be
Like we had it in
useful.
genealogy.
Yeah, we saw last night a presentation on how you can use a lot of this stuff
You could
prior
probably-
to this interpretation with the voices and everything. To do a lot of genealogy work that'll be more powerful. It was very interesting. But I thought the fact that this is coming soon. And the presentation was just yesterday, so we had a good timing as it was
right
next to our meeting. But that's what the primary ones I wanted to show for today. Do we want to stick one more thing in, do you think, or?
Photo line, yeah, let's see that.
I don't know how long.
If you don't mind.
But yeah,
That was,
This app.
looks like
it's kind of long.
Well,
37 minutes, from 24 to 37, 13 minutes.
Oh, 13,
37.
That's not too bad.
13, I'm in for 13, 37, not so much. What time under the new schedule, what is our wrap-up time?
11:30-ish to
We used to
noon
go
at the
2
latest.
hours.
We did go 2 hours, or was that?
Well, that was
that just
like-
us running over because?
By default, I mean, by
Yeah,
accident.
okay. But I mean, what is the structure? Are we intending?
10 to
Yeah, I mean.
Hour and a half.
11:30.
11:30.
How's that?
Alright,
And if
I'm going to
47.
share
we
my
go over, we
screen
do.
again. See
Okay.
where- There we go, that one. Share that, and here we go. Let me get rid of those.
This is our Geeks on Tour with Chris School.
PhotoMine is amazing. You can use it for free, but if you're going to use it, you know, you'll end up paying for it. It is $40 a year, not bad. It will scan several photos at once, then magically separate them and crop them well and color correct. It will also do slides and negatives, and I'm going to show you colorize, but first just an overview video, number 813. Do you have old photo albums like this around the house with pages and pages of photos that you would like to get into Google Photos? I want to show you an app called PhotoMine, which is the quickest and easiest way to get all of these photos scanned. It is a separate app on either Android or iOS, but once you have it installed, you can also access it right in Google Photos. Let me show you. I want to show you how you can get to it from within Google Photos. You tap Library and then Utilities. Scroll down till you see Import Photos and then choose PhotoMine. You do need to download it. I already have, but I haven't paid for it, so it makes me go through this each time. Now, you can use it for free if you tap up here at the top where it says ads are okay, but you will want to pay the $40 a year if you decide you really want to use it. So once you have it going, you just tap on scan at the bottom. And you just point at the page, the whole page of photos. You tap and hold the shutter button for just a couple seconds and watch how it separates out the individual photos. I'm not touching anything here. And now I can scan another page. Ooh, there's a lot of glare on this one. Touch and hold on the shutter button. Now I'm on the third page. Touch and hold the shutter button. Is this amazing or what? Fourth page, touch and hold. I think you get the idea. And when you're done, you tap done. It says that I have captured 12 photos. It creates an album within PhotoMine, which I can name if I want, but I just want them to go straight to Google Photos. You tap the share button, connect to Google Photos, and save to Google Photos. 12 photos were saved. I can go take a look. And there are the photos I just scanned. Don't they look great? So I've been playing with this just a little bit lately, and I think the best part of it is the color correction. It can make pictures look so good, and I have not been able to do the same by using what I know of Google Photos editing. And here's just one example. So it's scanned. You know, these old photos get really colored, discolored. The original is on the left. The PhotoMine improved copy is on the right. Then it gets even better. So I'm going to go to PhotoMine. That's this app right here, the red and white, PhotoMine. And I have some old black and white pictures. I still haven't paid for it yet. So I'm going to say ads are okay. And now here is an old black and white picture. You remember that, Jim? I think that's you.
That is me, but I don't remember that.
What did you do to that car?
I don't know. Tried to hit me or something.
So I'm in the PhotoMine app. I bring up a black and white picture and I tap this colored circle up here. It says, colorize this photo. Yes, and ads are okay. Boom. I am just blown away. There's the original black and white. There's the colorized version. And I have one more example. This is actually a picture of a class that I was in. And I just tap colorize. Ads are okay. And there is the colored version.
It knows what bricks are.
It knows what bricks are. You caught that.
The phone could be a little bit brighter.
Okay. There we go. I'll bet that's better.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Okay. So that's PhotoMine. Just check it out. And it can do slides and negatives too. How are we doing on time?
I don't know. I'll ask.
30. Oh, we're okay. You can do. So for slides, let me show you one other thing in here. Back to the phone.
Okay.
if I tap on scan, notice there's scanned photos, there's scanned documents, there's scanned scrapbook, and there's scanned negatives, and there's scanned slides. Cool.
Very cool.
So for slides, you have to have some kind of a light table, and video 618. Do you ever wish that you had a light table to put your slides on so that you can see them? Well, guess what? If you have a laptop computer, then you do. You just need the screen to be white. So I'm going to open up Notepad and make it full screen and turn my brightness up as high as it'll go. There. Now, my particular laptop, I can fold it around to make it flat, and now I have a light table. But even if yours doesn't, you can use it. Just turn it around. And now you have a light table. You can see all your slides at once. If you don't want to use your computer and you have an iPad, some kind of tablet, you can use it too. Same thing. You want a white screen and you want your brightness all the way up. Now you have a light table.
Very cool.
Just two caveats there. If you read the help screens in PhotoMine about how to do the best scanning, they do not want you to put the slide directly on the light table. And I tried, and there is a good reason. You need to hold it. So you need to hold it a couple inches away from the light table and then have your phone a couple inches away from that. So they have devices meant to hold your slides and to hold your phone because you need to be very still. And, you know, PhotoMine does not create as high a quality of result. But, you know, if you're talking about boxes of old slides or photos that have been in the closet for years, you just want to capture them so that you could look at them. I think the quality is good enough.
Agreed.
Okay. Did you say there were some questions?
Yeah, sure. There's a question. Bill wants to know, our main account has photo scan. Will bounce between profiles allow photo scan or Google One features?
Ooh, photo scan. Photo scan is an app on your phone. Profiles is only on the computer on your Chrome browser. So those don't Google One features, and no, it's account based. I mean, when I go to Danny Demo's account, he only has what Danny Demo has paid for, which is nothing.
Okay, Rosemary says, you showed the RV Parky app for free trip planning a while ago. Free requires...
Yeah, it's not free anymore.
Yeah, that's a drag.
I mean, they allow, what, 3 stops or something like that for free.
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions?
But it's like 25... No, I have not found anything as slick as RV Parky for trip planning. Just, yeah. I mean, there are others, but...
All right.
So that's PhotoMine. The only other one that's short would be that Apple one.
Do we have interest about it?
Just because it's history.
Okay.
Is it really gee whiz?
It's Apple history.
But it's short. And it kind of applies to.
Sure.
Fun facts you may not know about your Apple Mac. Hi, I'm Bill James with Tech for Seniors.
With so many people tapping away on their computers these days, it's sometimes fun to take a look behind the scenes at our favorite devices, such as the Apple Mac. While the Mac seems like a modern piece of kit, it's actually been around in one form or another for about 50 years. Apple began selling home computers in the mid-1970s, only a few years after the moon landing. Of course, things didn't remain static. Apple grew into the worldwide brand that we know and love today, and has improved its products over time. However, despite their long history, many users still don't know all the little details about their devices. OS X isn't said how you think it's said. If you think you pronounce OS X as OS X, then we have bad news for you. That's the wrong pronunciation. It's actually said OS X, because of the fact that it is the 10th operating system developed by the firm. X is just a Roman numeral that means 10, which could be part of the confusion.
Before OS X, Mac had OS versions running from 1 to 9, so the fact that OS X would be called OS X actually makes a lot of sense.
It just doesn't look very good when written down.
If you're still not convinced, you can actually get your Mac to say OS X aloud in the Terminal app.
You just type, say OS X, and it'll spit back the correct pronunciation for you. The first portable Mac weighed 16 pounds. Can you imagine lugging around a portable computer that weighs the same as a year-old child? It sounds ridiculous from today's perspective. Most laptops weigh between 2 and 3 pounds. However, back then people actually considered it lightweight. The heaviest MacBook currently on the market is the Pro 15-inch with the Retina display. At around 4 pounds, it is still substantially lighter than the original technology. As you might expect, the Mac Portable was a flop. Apple revised it and then released the PowerBook series, which was much more competitive.
Before Yosemite and El Capitan, Apple codenamed its OS X versions according to Big Cats.
The first of these was the Cheetah, followed by the Puma, Tiger, Snow Leopard, Mountain Lion, and others. Apple recently made a switch from Big Cats to National Park code names. Because of the fact that Apple is located in California, developers then changed the code names for new versions after landmarks in the state. The move was not welcomed by many Apple purists. Microsoft Multiplan was the first Microsoft product on Mac. Apple originally wanted to keep its products completely separate from Microsoft and the rest of the computing ecosystem, but that proved impossible. The Bill Gates-run firm was just so dominant that they had to make some compromises. One of those was to allow the use of Microsoft Multiplan, a spreadsheet program, from 1982 onwards. Apple then permitted users to access Excel in 1987 after Microsoft changed and updated its spreadsheet software.
OS X offers an inbuilt therapist you can use at any time.
When you have an Apple Mac, you won't need to drive to a shrink's office and lie on your back. To access, open your Terminal app, type Emacs, followed by Shift plus Escape, press X, type Doctor, and hit Enter. After you do this, a virtual therapist will enter the room, ready to answer all your questions. Of course, because you're talking to a machine, it often feels like you're conversing with a brainless automaton. But that doesn't stop it from feeling quite fun. Apple supplied the original Mac keyboard with some of its buttons missing. Can you imagine using a keyboard with no arrow keys? Well, that's precisely what Apple demanded of its early users. While the PC platform had arrow keys, Apple didn't. Naturally, they corrected this mistake, and we all forgot about it. After all, Macs are easier to use than PCs, right? Weird timestamps on your downloaded files are an Easter egg. Steve Jobs liked to give Apple Mac users Easter eggs on their devices, fun little quirks that don't obey all the usual rules and patterns, and one of them relates to downloads. Have you ever noticed weird-looking created and modified timestamps on half-downloaded files or files you canceled? If you go into the file browser via Finder, you'll see the date, Tuesday the 24th of January 1984 at 1:30 p.m. What the heck does that mean? Well, it just so happens to be the date and time that Steve Jobs unveiled the first Macintosh in history. Macs couldn't multitask until 1987. Today, we take it for granted that we can open 100 tabs in our browser, play video games, and do word processing at the same time. But back in the 1980s, you couldn't multitask at all on a Mac. You had to do things sequentially. That changed in 1987 with the release of the Aqua windowed interface, which launched in response to new products coming out of Microsoft. Steve Jobs wanted the original Mac to have just 128 kilobytes of memory. These days, most Macs have 8 gigabytes of RAM. But back in 1984, Steve Jobs wanted his original machine to have just 128 kilobytes, which was next to nothing, even back then. The reason for this was the shape of the enclosure. Jobs wanted it to be smaller and with less RAM it could be. Steve Jobs and the team autographed every original Mac. Imagine buying a PC with Bill Gates' original signature on it. It sounds unlikely, and it never happened. However, that's not true of Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and the team. They actually signed all the first-generation Macs they sold individually. In summary, the Apple Mac has a rich history. While the device is popular today, it also has deep roots. Apple won our hearts over the course of decades, way before social media was a thing. This presentation was on a collaborative post used with permission from Glitz and Glam by Tiff. I'm Bill James with Tech for Seniors. Thanks for watching.
That was, the script of that was written by an automated voice.
I was saying, that's worse than the AI voices.
Yeah, much worse.
Way worse.
Just wait till the new programs get a hold of something like this.
I thought they just had some guy with a really wooden personality doing that.
No, but Bill James,
Note cards.
Bill James, who did have insert a couple phrases inside the video, but he doesn't think he sounds that good online, so he tapped into one of these automated things. And you know, all those pictures in the background of people, you know, throwing their hands up and stuff are input by some program doing it automatically. You don't go select it.
Just random look through the
Yeah,
graphics.
they look and try to match what
Like
the words.
through my GIFs trying to find the appropriate.
Yeah. Well, the program does it for you, for better or worse. So it's interesting to understand that about such a program, but that was a short little
So in
look
the
back.
estate sales, I'm looking for autographs.
Yeah, I thought of that. That would be fun to find one. Might be
I'll let
worth,
you know.
might be worth extra money. Okay, so I think that's, any thoughts or questions? Or comments?
Very interesting.
Good meeting.
From the at-home group, have anything to say?
Very interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any thoughts about what you'd like to see more of? Any subject or anything that you'd like to have us do more programs on? Nope. We were talking about, Tech for Seniors did a recent program on different aspects of going with a landline only in your home and what issues there are and what alternatives, I suppose, like UMA and so on. And we thought of looking at all or most of that next meeting.
Interesting.
Sounds
Because that could
good.
be useful, I thought.
Yeah.
Very counterintuitive.
Yeah. Anything else people think of they'd like to hear about?
If you don't want to wait, I do have the.
Yes, the link for the landline program is already on our list there for today. But that may be what we use next month.
What would you point it out where you?
Do you need a landline right there?
Okay.
And they're broken down by dates, you can see there, so
Okay.
if you're ever, because a lot of times when I watch, I go back and rewatch them if I'm gonna try to do it.
Yeah.
Because I go, what was that? What was
Yeah.
the step they did? And it's nice, you can go and watch it again. Or again and again.
Right.
Now I see.
Hopefully when I get the time, I will post the recording of this video.
Yes.
This meeting online as well.
We have recorded this meeting in its entirety, but you know, a lot of times the links are
Sufficient.
sufficient, though Cliff had good comments and so on.
Right.
And
You don't hear our.
the recording will have that.
On the photo thing with you automatically putting photos up on Google, whatever.
Photo mine.
Google Photos.
Yeah, a lot of genealogists and also historians,
Yeah.
are saying, you know, your photo isn't worth anything if there aren't notes, dates, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's in these, and people generally put that on the back of the photo or on a side thing on a pocket. Is there any program that takes advantage of the information that's already out there? Like front and back of the photo to save the fact that this is the company picnic.
You go into the, what do they call that? The behind the
Well,
scene.
the access data, but
Yeah,
that, but that's not, the access data will have the date you took the picture.
But you can
I
input
think you can.
But that would be only if it's a digital picture, correct?
Well, that's what we're talking about.
No, we're talking about a photo album.
Yeah, I mean,
not
you're
pictures.
digitizing.
What?
Aren't you talking about digitizing the old photo album?
Digitizing the old photo
Right,
album.
right. So in the digital version of that photo,
The date that it was done.
you can edit the access data to put that original
Maybe we should
date
show-
in there.
There's a place to type in the data that's on the back.
Yeah, yeah. If you use the right program, do you have to
Yeah,
have the program?
I don't know that,
The Historical Society is digitizing quite a lot of stuff, but you know, that people bring in family albums and go.
I don't
know.
We noticed one thing we were shown at the program last night on AI and genealogy that the programs will tell you what it thinks the date of the picture was. And I thought that was kind of cool. Because it can go look at a database of a bazillion pictures that it knows the date on and say, okay, looking at that clothes and
right.
this and considering the hairdo.
Except if you're wearing your mother's wedding dress.
Well, yeah. There is going to be
Just saying.
exception.
Which I was.
Oh, I'm feeling okay. How about you?
I don't know that we can.
Yeah.
We may have to look up how to change the information we're referring to.
Yeah, I'm not, I just thought maybe there was something you've encountered that already takes.
Well, if you noticed in the presentation that she did for Photo Mine, she had written down in the captions, if you will,
Captions.
to make sure you put the original date and description on the picture.
Assuming she uses caption.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, she was showing Photo Mine. Let's see here. Let's see here. You already named it. Okay, actually, it's looking help. Let's just rename.
What about edit exit on Google Photos?
Yeah, I just. Okay, so there's a program called Exit Tool that you could use. Again, that's a separate program,
Okay.
but
You know, when I was first discovered, you could go in and add information to a file attached to the picture that you didn't ordinarily see. I heard that people will go in and put spy information.
oh, yes, well, that's different. That's steganography.
But you can put that right in the
You're talking
memo.
about steganography where you hide different things in like a JPEG.
Oh, and I think that's a little different than what I was
Okay.
thinking. Is you in the memo field, you write.
Oh, well, yeah, that's not very
That's
secure. So I don't know if
the,
Hopkins would actually use
Yeah,
that.
that's, if you know to look for it, you'd look.
Yeah, well,
You could find
it's
it.
similar with steganography.
But the average person would have.
Yes, that's true, the average person would. But even, I don't know if you would.
You could say the combination to the safe is.
This particular, I don't know where I got. In the program I was using, there was, you could just do information, it would give you some of the extra data. Date, time to save, the resolution, that kind of stuff. But this particular tool, exit tool, you could used to edit. Reading, writing, and editing metadata information on, different files too. So all these different files.
And I'll say that Google Photos does a very good job of, once you identify, let's say, a relative, and then say, find that name again, it will even identify them as a child
Oh, wow.
many times. And I go, how does it, you know, it's using some kind of face recognition software, which a lot of this AI has been around for a while and just running in the background quietly. They didn't want to blow it up. Well, then once ChatGPT said, oh, look what AI is, everybody admitted they had been using it, so. It's hard to keep up with everything.
No kidding.
So I guess that's our meeting for today.
Okay, thank you.
The next month in June, we'll be doing some more of this and focusing on landline options. Should you keep it? Why should you keep it or not? And what are the other options? And probably a few other things stuck in.
Okay.
Any comments from home people?
Good show.
Thank you.
See you next month.
Okay, thank you.